Right, welcome everybody. Hope everybody is well. It's Thursday, the 13th of August, and obviously we have got a real mixed bag in front of us. Make sure you get your questions ready. What I will do is go through this morning, what I'm potentially looking at, and obviously then happy to answer any questions afterwards. And so, oh, great. That's a good start, isn't it? So what is happening t today and why. We've obviously had mixed data from the pound in regards to, strong, obviously, quarter GDP. It's obviously increased from previous month and obviously month on month it's increased too. So, we've had, some good data in regards to that. Manufacturing data, if we look at it here, yes, it's, negative, um, but obviously, it's not too bad. Now, the important things that we're going to be looking at later, we obviously know, and obviously this could actually potentially really strengthen the dollar. So we obviously had a weak non-farm payroll, but a reduction in the what is wrong with my head? Job the reduction in the unemployment rate. All right, it went from 4.2 to 4.1. That was with a really bad non-farm payroll print. I think we were like minus 28K. So one thing that's sort of obviously holding the US dollar back, or it's holding the reins, is the employment sector. Now we've got some employment data coming out today as well as some PPI. So if obviously PPI comes out hotter, jobless claims, if they come out good, better than expected, that will mean that something is happening with the with the jobs sector in the US, and obviously that should potentially pump the dollar. So one thing that I'm looking at is jobless claims here. That's probably the main one that we obviously want to be focusing on today. I'm expecting PPI data to come out a bit hotter. Obviously, that is classed as inflation data as well. And so that's obviously one thing that is going to be important. Looking into everything that is happening here, um, we have got, let's start off with, yields. All right, I'm just going to plonk this on a 2 hour time frame there. All right, preceding those, we've obviously got stocks. Stock market's green. Let's just have a look at this on a daily. All right, so the stock markets are holding. All right, so there is a little bit of a risk appetite. If everyone was all out and out worried, we would see the stock market start to drop, and obviously gold will be trending a lot higher. All right, we don't have that. We've still got a US 30. Trading at all-time highs. We've got SPX for 500 all-time highs, and we've got US 100 all-time highs. So there is a bit of risk appetite out there. And yields aren't really doing a lot. They're struggling to break through Ford 750, but obviously they are holding. All right. So naturally, with yields holding up higher, that's going to support the US dollar. All right. Dollar here, like we've expected, and let's go on a 2 hour time frame. It's been a pretty slow one. If we look at obviously what happened yesterday, CPI data, we obviously had a bit of a drop, but then we've kind of recovered, and now we're hovering at this 100, right? So we've got two kind of areas here which we're, looking to target. Now, the only thing that's holding the dollar back, one is obviously inflation. worries, but where oil is and where yields are, dollars should be trading higher. All right. So that's obviously one thing that we've got to be, looking at here. So the only thing that's holding the dollar back at the moment is, like I mentioned, the employment sector. All right. So we've got to really think about it in regards to, right, you know what, if we start to gradually get some, drip fed good employment data, that's going to, send the dollar higher. Now, I actually reckon, the employment being bad, that's priced in. All right, that's 100% priced in. That's why we're trading in this area here. It's because of the employment rate Friday. We drifted. Where was it from? From like here, from 100 500 all the way down to 99 500. So this area here is due to the unemployment in America, not being great. But like we'd said, it's kind of mixed because the unemployment rate actually ticked down to 4.1%. Whether that's because of obviously how the data is collected. But obviously, yes, that's one thing that is, going to boost. So if we do get some good jobs data today, I am expecting this 100 for 500, potentially, maybe not today, but I actually think if the employment sector is good or okay, I think dollar should be trading around here. All right, that's where I think it should be trading. So let's we'll wait and see what happens. Now, because of that, I've gone to buy the dollar there this morning. We're in kind of two different markets here. Obviously, we're not trading Aussie, but if you look at Aussie on a higher time frame, it's trending to the upside, right? But obviously, at intraday time frame, we've broken through, these, lows, all right? And sorry, that's the worst line ever. Let me just delete this. We've broken through here, all right? So you're obviously gonna want to be intraday, favor favoring the dollar, but you could argue that you could go either way, all right? But it's just a bit higher risk in my opinion trying to trade against it because of obviously how much we dropped, after the CPI data and also how much Asia has kind of moved here. It's continued. US started off. That'll be the tail end of London here. That's when obviously US opens. That started off with this nice pump, but then pretty much we've engulfed it on most of the aspects here. All right. So first trade that we've gone with, or I've gone with this morning is GBP USD. I've allowed it to. Sorry, I've got a fly here. I've allowed it to pop up slightly. All right, but we can clearly see here, intraday, we should be coming into a nice bit of resistance here. All right, but I'm expecting a little bit more of a pop up, potentially equaling these highs here before we get that continuation. So we're obviously hopping on it a little bit later. If we'd have been trading our old kind of times at like at 6:30 in the morning, we would have hopped on this trade here and probably caught this move here. But you know what? Part of me quite likes trading around 7:30 because it's quite easy to get caught going the other way, and obviously you can really identify, have that as an extra confluence that we've made this move early, London, right? And then hopefully we get a push back up here and then a nice continuation to the downside. That's what I'm kind of hoping here. Euro, we've had this trigger very, very, similar to GBP. We obviously placed this trade when it was here, allowed for it to come up into our area, but as you can see here, we did break through. Let's just have a look at this on 30-minute broke through hourly broke through, so we've got to, really kind of, identify that. We've, allocated for it to come up into this area, which is obviously what we're expecting to happen. Very, very similar to Jumper USD as well. Want to kind of come into this area here. You can see, that obviously prices pumped down, struggled, pumped up, you know, struggled to really move away anywhere, So then we've had one more go, and then obviously we've driven down to the downside here. So remember what I always mention: what goes down must come back up to collect orders to come back down again. So our target area is this zone here. All right, and yeah, that's exactly where we are. I've currently got my two entries here. All right, and then let's wait and see what happens this week for me before we go on anymore. It's been pretty messy. Like I've had, on the table, I've done pretty well. All right, but it's not been clean. You can see this by my, my win percentages here. I've done pretty well on gold, and that's probably been my main rescuer. But obviously, yeah, bit like yesterday afternoon, I went a bit aggressive, but obviously managed to then capitalize on gold, to kind of recover. So not every day's trading will be clean. All right, how you know that you're, I guess, getting better is you might have a day where your trades haven't gone great, but you've come out, in, a bit of profit. And I think those were the days where I would have probably not been able to do that, because maybe yesterday, potentially, if I was trading me like 8 years ago, I'd have been holding Euro USD, I'd have been adding, I'd have been holding GBP USD, I'd have been adding, rather than having, right, stop loss hit, stop loss hit, those are out. Gold looks great to pop back down to that Asian high to then, lift off. So I'll put all my risk into that basket as opposed to the other one. USD obviously, intervention is still, looming. So the confidence is of going, long. We obviously had this yesterday. I mean, this was horrible. So there's still a lot of pressure on trading this to the downside. So obviously that's why I've stayed away from it today, because yeah, I'd much rather be, shorting this than going, long, just because of any kind of USD, weakness is gonna hurt us. Now, speaking of obviously, USD weakness, strength, I had a look at the calculations this morning on Bloomberg, and there is 45% chance of, so this is between the US and Iran. We got 45% chance of an escalation. I think 15% chance of de-escalation, and obviously 25% chance, or whatever it is, that 35% chance of, nothing happening. So, that's kind of where the, markets are lining everything up. And obviously that's why, yes, oil's down half a percent today, but we're still trading above 80, which obviously is, a bit of a worry. If you remember, we marked these traffic lights up, on, Sunday. So anywhere within the, red zone, all's in a worry, which is basically above 80. Everything's going to start to cool once it is, below 80. But we need that agreement. So what happened yesterday? And I had a couple of you, on it, which is good. It's impressive. Sent me the tweet from Trump, and I think Alex asked the question about Trump. Um, yeah, Trump basically, I actually think it's totally wrong that, and I think it's really spoiling trading, but I don't know how how he can still get away with it. But a president of a country should not be able to tweet. You know, it's basically inside information. You know, so you know he's creating you know supply and demand by tweeting. But obviously he posted quite an aggressive tweet yesterday about Iran running out of resources. They've got no air force. They got no, you know, navy. Their, you know, soldiers aren't being paid. You know, the world is congratulating him on how his blockade is holding. You know, the Strait of Hormuz. He's confident, and he goes, "Yeah, we're just going to wait them out." And obviously, then if you look at news from the Iranian side is that obviously they are open to negotiation, but obviously they want the US to yeah to you know obviously add in some extra things to kind of sweeten the deal. You know, so yeah, nothing's really happening, but I wouldn't say it's like escalating. But obviously the potential of it escalating is a lot higher. You know, so that's obviously what's given the dollar this extra kind of strength. It's not because of good data. It's because of yeah, basically you know yields higher, oil higher. Like I'd said, you know, in my opinion, dollar with how high yields are, with how high oil is, should be trading higher, and you know it's all down to employment. Then we've got gold here. Was very close to coming up to trigger us. We've actually had a lower time frame trade hit this morning. I'm pretty sure that's it full TP. I think full TP was 37189. So we've hit yeah, 37189 will be up here. So full TP. So well done for everyone who caught that one. You know, nice trade that. We got it right at the top here. So that is about 110 pips. But yeah, gold. There's a few levels that you want to be marking on gold. So one is 4380. Gold is struggling here, right? So 4380, gold is struggling here, and 400, gold is struggling here too. All right. And if we zoom out afterwards, you know, you kind of see why, you know. And then we obviously got to 400 yesterday, and obviously again, you know, struggling to break through. So, you know, these are obviously pretty important levels to be trading. Then we've obviously got Asia here, right? This is Asia, so Asian high. I'm gonna box. No, let's draw this in like a blue line here, or green, because we've got it in green. So Asian high, Asian lows here anyway. All right, so you know you can see these are kind of our areas, you know, that you want to be trading, and I actually think probably. You know, we've got a couple more. Let's just have a look on a lower time frame here. So we've probably got something like this, which is probably 435.8 would be another one. And then obviously we've got this lower level here, which is our 4318. So these are obviously the only levels for anyone who wants to be trading gold. You just trade between them. All right. Don't try and push it. Don't try and guess the direction. I think you'll do quite well on, you know, lower time frames if you you know just stick to obviously those. You know, looking at gold in particular, we've obviously had quite a hefty Asia. I mean, if you look at Asia's engulfed New York and London from yesterday, so you know we're heavily on the you know selling pressure here. But obviously, I think that you know there's minor support here at probably 4,370. But obviously, then we've got this 4,358, and so. Let's wait and see what happens here. But 100% on a higher time frame. Yes, we are trending to the upside. Clearly, you know, this will be categorized as one big move here. But then we do have a, we have to retrace. So just be aware of that. So that's obviously how I'll be, setting up gold today. Right, let's have a look at some of the questions. Noel, more financial indicators in the US at 1:30 today, guys, and a speech at 1:40. What's your read on this afternoon, Dan? Delay trade ideas. Um, so I am going to, I mean, there's no important speech, so, but I'll be, like always, waiting, for the jobs to come out. And then, yeah, we'll have to wait and see what markets can to give us. Richard, in regards to US employment, surely with the introduction of AI, will continue to push employment data downward. Potentially, um, you know, but I think you know what? There's always jobs out there, yeah, I don't think we're at that stage with AI, yet. Yes, in the future, but they're gonna have to create jobs. For anyone expecting the world, I know Elon, Musk is probably speaking in my opinion, probably 200 years ahead. In regards to he's making out like it could be in 10 years, but you still need humans. Everything, you know, AI needs testing. Think about everything and how long it's taken to get it right. They've been trying to build electric cars for over 100 years, and they've only just obviously got to that point where it's a plausible kind of way of obviously running a car, but still it's not. It's still way behind. In my opinion, you want your electric car to be running double. And I do think maybe everything's happening for a reason. The AI market is obviously run on microchips. That is obviously a huge issue right now because it's everything comes through the Strait of Hormuz. So maybe this is a way of slowing it all down. Who knows, but no, I don't think AI in probably the next 20 years will reduce jobs. There's plenty of things out there that we can, create work on. And I think if anything, it's going to help obviously companies, and spend money, potentially if you've got someone doing a job and obviously AI can take over, then, you might obviously want to put custom service in or, making everything better, Um, right, let's have a look. AI is a good topic here. Could PPI bring as much volatility as CPI and PP? Yeah, yeah, but it would be more the jobless claims. Bob, AI has already impacted jobs. I mean, you could argue if you look at the unemployment rate, they might argue against it. If we go to custom date, we do last week. So if we do, say, from the 6th to 7th, all right, you probably could argue against that. Friday, here we go. So unemployment rate 4.1%, right? It's pretty much. Oh, what's going on here? There we go. Right, it's pretty much, staying where it is, so you can't really say that, AI has affected the unemployment rate because, if you look at it in 2012, it was 8.3%, right? Now it's obviously yeah, um 4 4 point you know, one. So, I don't think that it is, especially in the US. Did I understand good that we should trade between 4358 and 4318 on gold? Just 4358 and 4318. No, so look, gold is probably one of those pairs which always reacts to levels, right? It always has done, always will. If you get the general consensus of it, is understanding the levels, of everything that is happening here, so yeah, it's about trading between, I think beginners, trade between, potentially wait for the 15-minute time frame, but obviously, if one level breaks, gold will get drifted into, the, next one here. If this one breaks, holds, it should get drifted into this one here, so yeah. But I do think we might see a potential rebound up from this one back up to here. So potentially a big trade here where I might take this trade here and kind of scale in a bit. But it depends obviously on what time it happens. Noel, if they can't get down to Range Rover to work on a regular basis, don't worry about AI yet. Do you know what? I had something else happen. I had my basically a stone flicked up and chip. So I already had a stone chip in the middle, and I've been a bit lazy. So I had a stone chip on the left-hand side. Happened on Wednesday. All right, thought really doesn't really matter because I got one anyway. Uh, Hopped in the car with the kids to go for lunch yesterday, and I've got a big crack now. Stone chip to stone chip. So yeah, but then I called up to get the windscreen replaced because it's got a camera in it, because it's got heads up display, because of everything. They can't come to your home. You need a man to test it. So yeah, it kind of argues your point. Plenty of news on BTC. Any guesses? I will come back to that one. Bob, I've been in IT for over 25 years. All tech companies are using AI and not recruiting as much. Yep, I'd agree with, with that. But obviously, everything works. It's like the, the circle of, life, isn't it? But obviously, proof is in the putting here, the unemployment rate, if AI, it should be trading up, up higher, but obviously it's not. So, yeah. Right, I'll come back to BTC. Alex DXY still struggles to break 100. Very tricky to trade. I don't see clear direction. Yep, like I said, long term it's obviously up. Um, you know, um, short term it's trending to the down. Sorry, long term, higher time frame trades. It's obviously trending to the downside. Lower time frame, then there's a little recovery. Bob, I'd see the continuous messages in LinkedIn whereby people are not getting jobs. The market has shifted and AI has helped. Yep, I not obviously not disagreeing that obviously AI has created jobs, but obviously, where some jobs are taken away, clearly others are created. So, yeah. Right. Plenty of news on BTC. I don't think there is. I mean, I think what this whole thing has highlighted is Bitcoin is not a safe haven. I actually think people are more worried about Bitcoin now than they ever have been. And it's not really doing anything. If you think the last time we had a significant move was in, May. All right. I don't think that anything is really happening, and obviously that's why price is being squeezed. Do I think it will trade higher? Yes. Do I think it's going to trade higher any time, soon? No. ARB was one that I was looking into, but obviously that is when the bull market happens. Arb obviously is an alternative to the Ethereum, network. Plus, it's supported by Ethereum too, so potentially Arb could trade higher when the bull run happens. So yeah, but I kind of at the moment I'm not really paying that much attention to crypto. It doesn't really interest me. Um, so yeah, I just don't really see the point in it. I've tried trying out some crypto arbitrage software, but I'm just trying to make sure the companies are legit. They've been around. I've had a meeting with the owner. They've been around for 9 years, but obviously before I mention it, because I've been stiffed up on crypto so many times, I just want to keep on trialing it. So yeah. Right. Dan, can we work on A plus setups? Yes, but they don't always, trigger. So gold, I think today was gold was what was gold was A. I graded gold and dubious DD, yeah, A's. Because we've obviously got that confidence there. Gold you probably, but obviously, you've then got to have for it to be graded as an A plus. In my opinion, you've got to have your entry higher, and then we're gonna get less triggers. So there's that kind of happy medium here. So yeah, I just want to check on euro. Yeah, nice. So euro should be running about break even if you've got all three entries. So not too bad at the moment. Hopefully we get this nice continuation. Now three, I do like three entries. This is my ideal kind of setup here because we only really now need to go to about here, and we've got all three entries here. So, right, last question. Do you buy the Trump early tweet services for 100K a month? Who's really buying this? No. No, I don't. Um, so I honestly think that it's wrong. Because he's very calculated, very clever. In regards to obviously when he's tweeting, and I just don't like it. I would, I'd like, macros are easy, all right, but we're not dealing with macros here. We're dealing with macros coupled up with politics. And any time, I don't know if you guys have noticed, anytime the dollar needs a bit of a booster, Trump comes out, and just spouts some rubbish. And it's yeah, he's completely and utterly manipulating the FX markets. So I think it's wrong. But no. Do you know what? I've actually really enjoyed it. Bob, I agree with you. I've enjoyed obviously your questions. I'd like to go through it. It's yeah, it's good. So I've enjoyed this live. So yeah. Hopefully you guys have too. Yeah, and remember, if you got any questions, drop me a message. I'm obviously happy to help. So yeah, have a great Thursday, and let's make sure we make sure today's running a bit smoother. And obviously remember to look at gold at that level that I did discuss. So have a good one, team.